Good evening, gents, and welcome to the Oulton Park paddock.
Oulton Park, round 8. Let's go!
Hello and welcome to a lovely sunny Oulton Park, deceivingly sunny Oulton Park because it is Baltic. I am shivering, which makes it very difficult out on track. Very unforgiving conditions, it's a bit slippery. We've got some new tyres on, which is making it a little bit wavy when you go to turn into a corner. I'm personally not got the confidence in the car due to a previous incident, not mentioned on here. Seb, I think, is finding it a little bit better. We've gone through some electrical snags and things this morning. As you've seen, we've redone all the electrics, so it's important on a day like today to make sure everything is working, everything is rattled free, that will rattle free, and everything is tightened back up.
We're here with Nick Crispin. Tell me about your practice, Nick. How's it gone? Shit. Is that because of the grass situation, or is there something else going on?
Yes, there wasn't enough grass available before I went out to drive.
Okay, fair enough. You're going into the championship, I think 16 points behind?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care about championships. Championships aren't for me.
They're not for you?
No, I'd rather be first loser or second loser.
Okay, that's an interesting take on things.
Yeah.
But there is a possibility that after this race you've won the championship.
There is, yes.
Okay.
What?
Okay. Whatever.
You can do it if you want.
Yeah, okay. Lost my train of thought. Okay,
Oh.
So tomorrow
Were
morning...
we actually having a conversation?
We were, apparently.
All right, come on then, speak to
Tomorrow
me.
morning we've got qualifying.
We do, yes.
It's dry for qualifying.
Is it? I prefer it moist.
So are we looking for a pole, or are you just going out there to have some fun?
No, I'm going out to have fun. I hate this track with a passion.
Okay.
I've had more DNFs here than all the other circuits put together, and I do here. So I'm quite happy to start from the pit lane, get to, well, I think I started 21st last year, 10th at the end of the first lap, and then thought, bored with this, so span at the first corner and then did it all again just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I do remember being helpless to you passing me twice.
Well,
not just once, twice.
it does happen.
Year. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've come a long way.
I have.
You have?
Yeah, I feel like I have. Car's looking good. Everything's good.
Well, I wouldn't say that the car's looking good. I think it looked better before you actually decided that, oh, I want a virgin white car.
I think that is incorrect.
Anyway, is this day 382 of being a winner?
It's day 73, actually. Now.
Oh, is it only 73?
Yeah, 73.
All right.
But the novelty's worn off a little bit, so I'm going to try and do it tomorrow.
Well, I wish you all the best. I hope you do.
So do I.
I'd like to see you up there at the front.
Yeah, it'll be good. But if not, I'd like to have a nice battle with you.
Would you?
Yeah.
What, like a sword fight?
So, after a rather colourful interview with Nick Crispin, we move on to qualifying. Bit of an unknown. Testing, as very kindly explained by Rob, was an all-round success, but it wasn't till the final session that we were able to stretch our legs on track at all. We felt faster than lap time showed we were, however, getting the job done in qualifying is always a whole different kettle of fish. With the likes of Chris Tovey, Pete Sparrow, Nick Crispin, Luca Peretti and Andrew Bull all out with me in race 1, even a top 5 isn't a sure thing. So here we are, qualifying straight out of the box. I wanted to make sure I had some free air. Got my teammate Luca Peretti behind. It's also his last race, so we really wanted to get a nice, decent qualifying position so we could have a good race going forward to see him out of the season. So pretty aggressive, straight out of the box, passing as many cars as I possibly can, so Luca and I can work together as a team to try and get front row lockout, which would be lovely. But we will see exactly what we can do. Nick Crispin, Pete Sparrow, Chris Tovey, all very, very quick in practice. So time will tell what we can do. We won't be showing you the whole of qualifying. We'll skip straight to the fastest lap and get to the racing action as soon as possible. So here we go. On board now for our fastest lap. So getting a good setup into the final corner and up the hill. It's all about momentum with these cars, so you've really got to make sure everything is pin perfect. Maximise your speed into the corner, maximise your speed through the corner, and maximise your speed out of the corner. So tip it in for turn 1. Nicely done, using all the track. As we head down the hill towards Cascades, Luca is right behind me. He understood the assignment this time around, so we'll tip in through Cascades. Just the rear end wanting to let go of that tiniest bit, but we keep it going. And now a long straight down to the hairpin. Luca pushing me behind. Just seem to give him a thumbs up, so he's pushing me along. Slipstream is massive around Oulton in these cars, so we need every little bit of lap time that we can get. Nice and tidy through the kink and down into the heavy braking. Shift to third, chuck it in. Loads of banking on this corner so you can carry way more speed through than you think. And over the brow of the hill again. Nice clean shift into fourth. Luca's still behind and keeping on me as we tip it in for the first chicane. 1 apex, 2 apex on the throttle and up the hill and hit that third white line. Let it drift out, keep the car as straight as possible, don't scrub any speed at all. Now at this point, we're on a 28.3 on the predicted delta, but I hit the brakes to turn in for the second chicane and lock up and completely miss the entry point. I have to correct the car and pretty much threw the lap away. But now this was the fastest lap, which just shows how bad the rest of the laps are, but we actually lost over a second just going through that corner, so possibly not going to be a pole this time round. I did have to apologise to Luca at the end of the session because we were on for a flyer at that point. The lap time just kept dropping, but we carry on through Druids now, absolutely flat out on a good day. Just make sure that the rear end doesn't want to let go at all. Smooth as you can as we head down towards the final corner, which is almost impossible to get perfect, but we do a pretty good job here as we hit the brakes down into third, chuck it in as late as you dare, get the throttle on as early as possible and straighten up that exit as you head up the hill and short shift just a little bit into fourth to get the pull over the brow and across the line. It was a 2:29.7, lots of time left on the board and I wasn't too sure how we were going to do, but it was P3, so not too bad. Not much to do, a little bit of setup tweaks. We did have a failed rear bearing as well that we had to swap out. Thank you very much to the KT team. But Chris Tovey on pole, Pete Sparrow second, myself in third, Luca right behind me in fourth, and Nick Crispin in fifth. Chris Tovey over a second faster than anyone else, which just shows we could have been close. I don't think we would have quite dipped into the 27s, but we could have been very, very close there. So let's look ahead to the race. 15 minutes, and let's see what we can do. Slightly uphill, so we're holding the clutch just a little bit as we wait for the red lights to come on. Red lights are on, build the revs, drop the clutch, and it's not a bad start into second, but we miss second and have a terrible job getting into the second phase of the start, and we're getting passed by Nick Crispin there, so down into 5th already. Andrew Bull on the left-hand side, that's down into 6th place. And there's loads of oil on the inside of the first corner as well due to an incident in the race before us. So very, very sketchy through there, having to use a very wide line through. But as you'll see, now up my right-hand side is the Tower 92 Tower car. So that's put me down into 7th, but I managed to just dip ahead of him into Cascades and secure 6th place again. And I've got a good run now, a double toe behind Andrew Bull and Nick Crispin. Andrew asking me to push, but after that start I really wasn't in the mood, and I want to get past both of these as quickly as possible. A daring move down the inside of the kink, hold it in, maybe 2 CVs, but we're still doing 80 odd miles an hour, which in a tin can is fairly scary, and a great outbraking manoeuvre around the outside, giving the space on the inside and get on the throttle as early as possible. And that was a great move. So back up to 4th now, Luca ahead fighting Chris Tovey. In the KT Motorsports car, Luca having to tuck behind, and I go ham into this chicane, brake as late as possible just to catch up with the lead trio. So Pete Sparrow leading at the moment, who's a phenomenal racer, won the championship many times, countless times in fact. Chris Tovey again, an extremely fast driver, and Luca is extremely quick and a dear friend of mine. It would be great for him to have a good race, but unfortunately all I'm thinking about in the cockpit is my race, so I've got to push as hard as possible, work together with Luca to try and get us to the front, and then hopefully in the last few laps we can have a bit of a battle. But up the hill now, I managed to get into the toe of Luca, which is going to help me massively as I try to pull a gap from the guys behind and stay on this lead trio. So we'll stick with Luca and see what we can do. Flat out, no, a little bit of a lift there through Druids as we follow into the final corner. See what the rest of them are doing. Hard on the brakes, being a little bit cautious. It's first lap and we're all still bunched together a little bit, but I managed to get on the throttle and keep that gap down to a minimum. Keep that toe. Luca signaling to me ahead to work together, and I'm perfectly happy to do that. So let's go and get a podium. Into the first corner again. Very sketchy on that inside. You can't quite use as much track as you want, and as you can see, going a bit wide there, that oil was really tripping a few people up. But you've got to keep a cool head and just sort of predict what the car's going to do. But I lost a little bit of time, wasn't quite as ballsy through there as I wanted to be, but there we go. Pete Sparrow has made a mistake into Cascade, which has pushed him all the way from 1st, and he's about to get swallowed up by both myself and Luca, put him down into 4th. And now I need to push ahead because Pete Sparrow is just a phenomenally good, very intelligent driver, and it's going to be difficult to keep him away, but we focus on the lead pair ahead of us as we tip it in again into the hairpin, closing right up to Luca, and me telling him, you go, I'm following, I've got your back, we'll do this together, as we head into the first chicane again. Missing that first apex, a little bit put off, but I think I checked my mirror at the wrong time to see Pete Sparrow very close to the back of me, and that scrubbed a little bit of speed up the hill. But no matter, I can make it all up into this braking zone for the second chicane. An area on the track where I must say Chris Tovey was just flawless, and his car looked so settled, so I think that's going to be a point where maybe we're not going to be going for a move on Chris if we get to the front. because he is just so quick through the twists. But in the straight line, I think we might have the edge. Our engine this weekend was just fantastic. Couldn't fault it at all. As usual, it's the fleshy meat sack in the seat that lets us down. But closing in again on Luca, and he's actually lost a little bit of time to Chris ahead. So we'll try and push him down this back straight if we can to close that gap up again, as we get up to the back of him and give him a nice old push down the back straight. He gives me a thumbs up, back off before the braking and let him do his thing. But he's gone in way too deep, missed the apex, and now we've gone wide. I'm gonna have to go up the inside of him and let him push me, because otherwise we're both dropping right back, which is not going to be fun at all. So I pass Luca and slot in, and he's right behind me, but unfortunately I think Pete Sparrow followed me through. So as much as I would have liked to have pushed him along, it would have just been counterproductive for both of us, really. So it's now eyes on Chris Tovies. We're now in second place, heading into Cascades. Very nice, just dancing on the rear end of the car there as we carry as much speed as we can through and catch the toe of Chris Tovey. We want to get right on the back of him, measure him up for the rest of the race, and then make some moves in the final couple of laps. Now I've still got Pete Sparrow behind me, so I've got to go a little bit defensive into the hairpin here. Just close him off so he can't make a move, but somehow still managed to carry more speed through than Chris Tovey, who maybe was checking his mirrors a little bit. But we're getting ever closer to that KT Motorsport car. Into the first chicane, and Chris absolutely chucking the car in. His rear end swinging around like a pendulum, but that's all good for us. We will close in and chase, and we're right where we want to be now. Not trying to make a move, just showing my nose in case he feels like he wants to make a mistake. But yeah, not really trying to make a move there, just having a look as we follow him now up the hill. See how quick he is through that chicane and then up the hill. But we've got this on lock. The car feels on rails, absolutely fantastic. Now with 8 minutes left in the session, it's far too early to make a move, so we're going to push Chris along, try and break away from the guys behind us, because if it's just us two, we can afford to have a battle maybe a little bit earlier through the race, if we have a bit of a buffer behind us. So just pushing him along for now, letting him know that I am here and I'm up for a fight. Show my nose again, just to let him know that I'll happily take a slot if you make a mistake. And we get on the throttle and up the hill once again. Still just straying away from that curb on the inside, just too much oil there that neither of us felt like giving that a go, and ruining our chances of even finishing as I tell him to go ahead, and he actually misses his lift point as he turns in and goes really, really deep and really wide. I thought I'd lifted a little bit too early, but actually he'd just gone in a bit too deep, and I kept a cool head and just did what I was doing and got through there nicely. He sort of got away with it though. As we close in once again down the back straight, just hovering around on the throttle, don't want to get too close. I couldn't really push him through a kink like that, so we'll follow him through the twisty bits now. And I'm just that little bit faster through the hairpin, which is nice to see. Clearly the car absolutely on rails. A little bit hesitant on the throttle there from myself as Chris absolutely chucks his car in. I don't know how his rear is holding on, because he's throwing that thing into the first chicane, which is fantastic to see. And I'm happy just sitting here. So we'll head in early on there, but I've taken a little bit too early on that apex and it's upset the car. There's a big bump there, and now I've lost all that time as we go up the hill. I've got Pete Sparrow right behind me who's looking to make a move at any point, and that gap has suddenly got a lot bigger. Definitely my fault. They're a little bit too greedy on the second apex as we now follow Chris just about in touching distance. So a couple of straights and we should be back on to him once again as we go through Druids. Still flat out. Car feels a little bit twitchy as we head through Druids, which is an easy flat in the right conditions. And we hit the brakes into the final corner and turn in. But the rear end's gone once again. I have to catch it. Now that was weird. That was a strange one because I don't think I did anything different there. And that has sort of made me a little bit wary of, have I damaged something on that last chicane, or am I just overdoing it? So we go, turn in, and now the front end isn't grabbing and the car just won't turn in. Now the rear wants to go. There's something wrong here. I can't get the car to do what I want now. It was absolutely on rails for the last 10 minutes of the session, and now it's just not seeming to do what I want, but we'll keep going, chuck it in, but no, the rear wants to go again, and I get a knock from the back because Pete Sparrow couldn't do anything to avoid me, and he goes through, and now I'm really worried something is not right at all, as we almost spin out in that area down at the Cascades. It could have been nasty, but we managed to hold on. And I'm a little bit wary now as we head into the kink, and still through the kink I'm having to correct just that little bit because the rear end just doesn't want to do what it was doing. And then a little bit early on the brakes as we turn in, and I couldn't get the front to turn in at all, so I had to put a whole lot of lock on, and then it eventually turned in, so I took a little bit too much on the inside there. But something is definitely not right with the car now, but we just have to get our head down and push as hard as we can without throwing anything away. It felt alright through that chicane there. I was worried maybe I'd overheated the tyres, gone a little bit too aggressive, but from what I could see, Chris was pushing just that little bit harder than me, so I shouldn't have any problems with overheating. I certainly haven't had any problems before on the tyres. We head into the chicane. I'm really cautious now, as it just car not quite wanting to do what I want it to do. And again, just dropping time. I can see a back marker to the side, and I decide, let's take a bit of his toe and just try and, if I can stay within touching distance of the leaders, maybe if they get together, make a mistake or fight too much, I can get back into that fight. But at the moment, my eyes are firmly on my rear view mirror because I've got Luca Peretti and Nick Crispin about 3-4 car lengths behind, but they're closing every corner, really closing in on me. And I'm just struggling to find any sort of confidence in the car now after that. 2.5 minutes to go in the session. I've just got to hold on and hope whatever's gone wrong isn't about to let go completely, because that could be disaster. Back down the straight again, and for the final time, as the timer will be 0 as we come back through. So final lap as we head into turn 1. And I'm sort of keeping touch with the guys ahead, but I'm going a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds a lap slower on my Delta than I was when I was sat behind Chris in the opening stages of the race. And having to be really gentle through Cascades, the rear end still wanting to step away just that little bit. Micro corrections on the wheel. We head down the front straight, or the back straight, I guess, for the final time, shouting to myself in frustration. It never helps anyone, Seb. Keep you cool. Get through the kink, get into that hairpin. We chuck it in, and there's so much lock on the front, it just doesn't want to do anything now. I got no front. But also, I think the front was limited due to the rears being limited, but I just couldn't figure it out when I was in the car. Hit the apex, and it's even pushing me wide out of there. So really struggling, but head down, half a lap to go, and I keep checking that rear view mirror because Luca and Nick are battling, but still closing in so quickly on me, and I just can't find the balls to push any harder after those 2 or 3 little hiccups earlier. As we head up the hill one final time, we've now completely lost touch with the 2 ahead. They might have a little fight here, but I think the gap's too big for anything to come of it. And Luca and Nick are now right behind me, and actually at this point Nick is side by side with Luca, and they are just a car length behind me at this point. One more corner to go. We'll hold on for P3. Let's head into the final corner. Clench your cheeks a little bit as we chuck it in. Quite cautious. And up the hill into 4th. And I managed to keep the guys behind away from me, but that could have been so much more. And I think, yeah, very, very angry. I should be happy. I've come 3rd. 3 races, 3 podiums is nothing to shake your head at, but when I was so close, the car felt so good. I was just so angry, and at this point I thought that I'd done something, possibly broken the car, hit a curb too hard, bent something, so I was frustrated at myself for just not being a little bit more conservative. But yeah, really upset. It took me a few minutes to calm down, but I mean, in the end I was absolutely very happy with P3 in the end. And after a bit of investigation, we found that the rear driver's side tyre had actually delaminated. So maybe either from, it was on its last legs, I guess it was a bit of a risk putting it on, but it fell apart in the end, and there's nothing more we could have done. But that is race 1 of P3. Very happy with that. If you have enjoyed the video, do like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and we'll see you soon for race 2.